Hello all YouTubers, I'm the Weather Dude. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you all for tuning back into this weather presentation for April 4th, 2020. As always, please consider subscribing as well as checking out my website. You can find it in many ways. One way is you can just click on the link here, okay, in the discussion. Okay, it'll take you right to my website. Or you can just find it in the description. It'll be the first thing in the description from now on, and on like any of my recent videos or this video, and as well as all my future videos. My website, the link to it will be there. Okay, please consider going there. I do have updated forecasts and cool features on my website. Just know that even though we're out because of coronavirus, school is still in session, but we work it out. Okay, I will be doing my best to provide the latest weather information for you guys. Hopefully everybody's doing okay out there. Today, we're going to be talking about something that the models have been kind of showing in the past couple of days, a potential winter storm for the center of the country towards mid-April. Okay, I think it's something that's worth talking about, worth discussing. So, this is going to be like a northern central kind of event. It could dip down towards Kansas and Oklahoma. Depends which model you look at. Okay, so first model we're going to look at here is the GFS model. And this won't be till mid-April, okay? So if you go into the future here, and what's going to happen is it's going to kind of have like a warm front, essentially. Okay, so we're going to have, on the front end of that warm front, the air is still cold. Okay, so we have a band of snow developing into Nebraska, and as well as southwestern South Dakota. Okay, and then for some areas, if you're too far south, eventually the warm front's going to lift through, and eventually you guys are going to change the rain. But it's going to be kind of like a warm front here and a cold front here. So behind that cold front, or right on that cold front, and behind it we got some more snowfall. It's going to be moved to Nebraska, and then in Iowa, and the latest 18Z model run seems to really expand the storm outward into Iowa and to Wisconsin. I think it'll just be missing Chicago. Okay, you might get some on the back side of the storm system on the wrap around, but you got your northern side. And remember, this could always change. This is like 10 days out at this point, but I think it's something that the models have been talking about. And remember, this storm is going to start affecting Nebraska around 186 hours out. So by 240, which is 10 days, that's when it starts moving through the Great Lakes. And we got a really strong band of snow coming up behind the storm here on that northwestern side. Okay, because on that eastern side, you got that warm air outflowing into that cold air. And that's why we got that heavy snow and a little bit of ice into Canada there. But Chicago, you could see some snow. Okay, once that storm lifts north, you get enough wraparound, enough cold air, which I will be analyzing for you guys as well. Eventually, Chicago could potentially change the snow. And look at this. The storm deepens even more, so even more cold air and moisture gets pulled behind. And we got a lot of heavy snow in the places like Michigan. Okay? And we could have some leftover snow in the Appalachian Mountains, and that's a whole separate event. Okay, so GFS models, okay, total snowfall. This could still change. So it looks like the latest data only puts at 216. So for the first part of the storm, okay, we can't get the second part data in yet because I'm using the latest model run. But you look back into northern Nebraska, southern South Dakota, we got 12 to 18, and in some spots. So that's really a lot of snowfall. If you want to go out farther out in time, if you want to look at the past model run, so you can see farther out in time, we're expecting, according to GFS's 12Z model run, maybe a few inches, but that's probably changing by now because the latest model run's coming in, but they're just not quite accessible yet. But Chicago, maybe a couple inches, central Iowa, maybe a few inches, and northern Michigan, again, with that heavy snow I showed you, possibly 6 to 8 inches. And this is the cyclonic vorticity map, so just to kind of show you how strong are the ingredients that are coming together. You can see the intensity of the storm system here. Let's actually scroll down a little bit. There we go. So you can kind of see the cyclonic vorticity is not too impressive so far. Okay, we still do have some cyclonic vorticities and indicating that we got some bands potentially of some storminess here on the eastern and warm side. And on the back side, as you can see by the wind gradient here, we're gonna have that snow and these little bands of snow you can see here on the back side. Okay, so the storm looks very, I wouldn't call this an on-land kind of hurricane, but it looks pretty strong and intense, even though it's not perfectly circular. Okay, so that's what we're going to watch here, the intensity of that storm, how much cold air and moisture you'll pull along with it. Now, the dew points are going to be actually not all bad. If you look, remember where that initial band of snow where I was telling you about, right here, dew points are in the 30s, and that is pretty dry, don't get me wrong, but actually, I mean, dew points in the 30s for having snow, that's actually not that bad. I mean, it's a little dry, okay, but that moisture, and you can see the moisture that's coming out of Oklahoma here, and it's going to try to make its way north, but the dew points in the 30s goes down right here. So even though the dew points in the 30s, and it's dry, because once you get into the upper 50s, and you start getting the 60s in the dew points, that's when it starts getting really moist. You're not really going to have that because it's not that soupy atmosphere, but it's better than having dew points below 32 like you see like in this region all the way up here. Alright, so at least the dew points aren't that dry, so it won't be the driest snow in the world. It won't be that fluffiest really kind of snow, especially since it's mid-April, and like not much can really accumulate because even though the GFS is saying 18 inches, yes, that might fall out of the air, but let's say only 10 or 12 might stick. Okay, and that might be on the grassy surfaces if you're lucky, because the sun April is strong in April. Like I remember here, like even here when we had that a couple years ago, that big first day of spring snowstorm, even the snow had a hard time sticking on the road, but it was like 12 inches of snow on the grass, but on the road it didn't stick too well. So, and that was late March for the Northeast. So mid-April up here, it's going to be hard for the snow to stick, but if you get enough cold air locked in there to really, make the roads cold, and that could potentially lead to some snow sticking on the roads. But I really wouldn't bet on that too much. Remember, these aren't the temperatures; these are the dew point temperatures. Okay, and you can see once the storm moves out, look at this. You can kind of tell where the low center is. Right about here, we got that one intense band of moisture getting pulled up, and then we got cold, or at least drier air getting pulled in the backside. And mid-50s for dew points at this time of year, that's actually pretty decent. Usually don't see it, and then eventually, like, the whole map is just taken up by dew points less than 32. Like, it's all blue. Like, it's literally all blue, and then it just goes away. So that is the dew points according to the GFS model. Now, these are the actual air temperatures, and this will be interesting. Okay, so let's go here, and you can see the actual air temperatures. Like I said, when that initial front band of snow comes through, even temperatures are going to be in, like not sub-freezing, but just above freezing. Like we're talking about 34, 35. You get a couple areas of 32 if you're lucky. Okay, and you might be thinking, well, here comes the cold air, but remember, the cold air, most of that cold air is coming behind the snow. Like the cold air is not rushing in fast enough. So all the snow is probably like all the way up here where it's not, again, not quite cold enough. Eventually, once that snow passes through, we chill down behind the storm system, as you can see right about there. All right, we chill down to the 30s and 20s. Now here is the Canadian model, and I'll also show you the European model. Okay, so Canadian here, kind of painting a different picture. They have and this is what I kind of call like there's no boundary. It's like a no boundary kind of system, because if you look, it goes from heavy rain right over to snow. Like it's either a heavy rain and like a mile over, it's like heavy snow. So it's like there's no like ice or wintry mix in between. It's just heavy rain here and then boom, heavy snow. It's like right in the same couplet. Okay, now dark blue, that is heavier snow, but keep in mind your temperatures are going to be warmer there. Like I said, remember my famous saying here when I was tracking winter storms, that when you're close to that rain snow line, yes, snow will be falling at a heavier rate, but just keep in mind that the temperatures are going to be higher as well. So that really the snow won't really stick that way. And this is as far out as it goes, 10 days, and you can see we do have some snow moving through, but not the beast of a system that the GFS said was going to be by any means. Now, the snowfall, I think it is way overdone. Okay, they're calling for like 2 to 2.5 feet of snow. It can happen, okay, and especially since like Duluth is up here, it can happen, but I just don't think that. I say maybe like a good 12 to 18 at its highest. Okay, because sometimes the Canadian goes a little bit above with these regions, but even Chicago got some of that lake enhancement there. Chicago could even get a couple inches. So if you like snow, the Canadian models kind of listen to your wishes there. All right, now same model, Canadian model, and looking at the cyclonic vorticities, and you can see why they're predicting such. Like, look at the beast of the storm. Like, You got a band here, and then we got your little line. Sorry, I kind of drew that bad. So actually, like, you get a little wrap around here, and that's kind of like your low. Okay, you got these bands feeding into the low. You got your wrap around the low. Like, this is almost like an on land kind of hurricane, but I wouldn't really call it a hurricane for many reasons, as you may know. But and you can just see the cyclonic vorticities are like absolutely just in the 45, 50, probably higher than that, like in that kind of value range. And to put in perspective, that's like a lot of cyclonic vorticity signature, a lot of intense bands of precipitation potentially. So that's kind of a way you'll be able to track hurricanes too, like the force they have with them. Now the GEM does not provide the dew point temperatures, but they do provide the regular temperatures. You can kind of see where your storm system is. Okay, where you happen to be on the cold side, yeah, good for you, because you got your low pressure sort of here, and you got 60s and 70s, even mid 70s. Okay, on that warm side of that low, but okay, like I said, that cold front behind the low and the warm out of the warm front. Okay, this is like your warm sector. As you know, behind a warm front is warm. Ahead of a cold or ahead of a warm front, excuse me, is cold. Behind a cold front, it's cold, and out ahead of a cold front, it's warm. So behind the warm front and out ahead of a cold front means double warm. So you got this super warm sector here, which also means there's two warm. If this makes two areas of warm air make that super warm sector, there's got to be a cold sector too, right? Well, if you combine behind the cold front and out ahead of the warm front, there's your super cold zone right up there. And even there, it's not that cold either. Like nobody's really below 32. So that's another reason why I think the GEM is making kind of a mistake of putting 30 inches of snow. Falling out of the air, maybe, but like I said, maybe like 12, 18 inches on the ground if you get lucky. Behind the storm, once the storm ends, then yes, eventually towards the end of the storm, we're going to get a little bit of 32 degrees temperature readings, but that won't be until later in the storm. Okay, now we're going to look at the European model. Sorry, spoiler. All right, so if you look at the European model here, so at first, European doesn't make quite a big deal about this. They kind of do. Okay, they're kind of sitting in the middle here. They're not quite sure what to say. Okay, they got some sleet, not freezing rain, that's pink, but sleet in Nebraska and snow towards the western part of the state. Okay, and if we head forward in time, eventually head south. Okay, the low kind of starts to fall apart. It really can't drag in much cold air. Not to mention that we're moving southward at this point, so it's losing some of its cold air. Get a little bit of light snow to Colorado, and we got some sleet in the southeastern Nebraska, northeastern Kansas, Iowa, Missouri. That eventually turns into all rain. A little bit of banding over here, but it's gonna lose its cold air completely. There's no middle part to this anymore. Like it's a little bit of snow over here, a little bit of rain over there, and that's about it. And then we do see that piece of energy left behind, that little snow there, where that high pressure is. So that gets left behind. It kind of says, hey, you know what, forget you. I'm going to make a little storm of my own. So it kind of starts to do that. And we got some sleet mixed in with some moderate to heavy snow across the panhandle of Texas, actually, and northern part of Oklahoma. So like I said, these models are putting, painting kind of a similar picture, but in much different regions. The Europeans talking about more towards the south. The GFS is right split down the middle, and the GEM model is putting it all the way to the north. And you can see, look at this, and this is as far as it goes. And look at the heavy snow, northeastern Mexico, northern Texas, western Oklahoma. So that's a lot of snow that we could potentially be seeing. Just keep in mind, especially for these more lower latitude regions. Okay, you're not going to be seeing much snow because the sun angle, especially in these southern parts, the lower latitudes. Okay, it's going to be if the sun angle is much stronger, and like I said, I cannot doubt potentially 6 to 8 inches sticking on the ground, but most likely that's going to fall from the air. But you know what? It's happened before. I mean, April snowfall, especially in mid-April. Okay, I'm not putting it past Mother Nature by any means, but we could see a few inches, potentially a little bit more. But it all depends. The models have to agree on where to line this storm up here. So here's the European model again, a cyclonic vorticity map, and you can see very intense cyclonic vorticity signatures showing up at the Kansas-Oklahoma border there, Oklahoma Panhandle. That pushes through, and then out towards the end, you see a cyclonic vorticity. They don't really make it as high. and not as high of a signature there. So that's a sign Europeans not really, going all in with this quite yet. As the last map here today, just to show you real quick, this is the European model. And at 8 o'clock, you can see where we had that snow, northern Texas, Oklahoma here. Sometimes if we get that cold air to rush in, okay, this is the freezing altitude map, and you can see basically how high, because generally elevation, you go up in elevation, you get colder. But how high do you have to go in the atmosphere to reach temperatures that are 32 degrees Fahrenheit or lower? And for northern Texas at 8 a.m. Monday, you only have to go 300 feet. Okay, some parts 900 feet, but Oklahoma, once you head into Kansas, gets to like 2,500 feet. So obviously, the higher that you have to get to reach that cold air, the less cold air that you're gonna have at the surface. So depending on how cold or how quick that cold air can rush in, that will determine our snowfall totals and also the moisture. Gotta get moisture for that snowfall event too. So this is something I'll be keeping an eye on. I forgot to mention that my next hurricane season outlook will be coming out most likely the 12th, April 12th, so that's Sunday, but possibly the 11th on Saturday. So keep your notifications on so you know when that comes out. That'll be my third outlook, and you'll find out one more exciting because we're getting a lot more forecasts from different weather organizations coming out, so you get a better idea. So hopefully you'll stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching. We'll keep an eye on the storm system. I am the Weather Dude, signing off. Till next time. Thank you for watching.